Hi everyone, welcome to the new session in the environment series. I hope you guys are checking the earlier videos of both environment and ecology as well as geography, which are being continuously updated on the channel. We are also doing the previous year questions alongside the topics that we are covering, so kindly make full use of that. That will be handy for you both in the prelims and the main stages of the examination. In the previous video of environment, we have done the topic on components of an ecosystem, and we have started with the abiotic, which is the non-living component. So I have told you that in this particular video, I will be talking on the biotic components of the ecosystem, and from here on I'll discuss it in greater detail. Also, those of you who are new to the channel, please do like, comment, share and subscribe. Help me spread the word. You can check all the other links which are available for different playlists in the description section of this particular video. Apart from that, you're also getting a Telegram channel link on which I will be posting several updates, and if I had good number of viewers, in case you guys will need the PDF, we can also share the PDF. So I need good viewers for that, and I need your support for the same. Kindly check all the links out. Let's continue with the next component. So these are all the abiotic ones which we have done in the previous video. So I start with the biotic component now. Biotic component of an ecosystem, and I hope you guys are writing alongside, because otherwise if you just hear out the video like a story, it's not going to be that beneficial. Firstly, what is the meaning of the biotic components? So here we are talking about the living organisms. The non-living organisms included your abiotic components. So living organisms, like you will have, let's say, plants, you will have animals, you will have microbes, etc. So all of these things will include in the biotic component. And the classification of the biotic component is based on the functional attributes into producers and consumers. I'll explain this because this is what we are going to do in the detail part. That the further classification of the biotic components, or let's say the living organisms, is the category of producers and consumers. So it is based on the function that they are performing, okay? And because in the ecosystem also we have talked about the structural and the functional unit. I hope you remember all the definitions we have done in the first video of the particular series. So here the producers and the consumers are the major classifications that's being talked about. So the first subsection of your biotic component is about the primary producers. The primary producers. इनको और किस नाम से बुलाते हैं? We call them as autotrophs. Auto is about self. So basically they are self-nourishing. वो अपना खाना खुद बना सकते हैं. They can nourish themselves. ठीक है? By own. So primary producers, who all will be, or what all will be here? So of course it will be the green plants. You know that plants prepare food for themselves. ठीक है? इसमें तो कोई doubt ही नहीं है. Apart from that, some bacteria also would be included in this. This concept will be clearer to you if you check the geography sessions that I'm doing right now, because I'm talking about the origin of life on that, and on that we will talk about the cyanobacteria etc. तो वहाँ से आपको और clarity मिलेगी. And that is why environment and ecology is very much interlinked with your discipline of geography as well as science, general science also, you know, mostly the biology part. So, and of course some elements from physics and chemistry also takes place here. So you cannot segregate these topics as such. You know, you have to do that interlinkage studies, because science and tech is also a part of your syllabus for both prelims and main. So you cannot just take it very lightly. So some bacteria like cyanobacteria, जिसको हम blue green algae भी बोलते हैं. So if they ask you that, you know, bacteria or algae, so they can also be considered as, some of them can be considered as the primary producer. So they are the producers, primary producer, because they produce their own food. So how do they do this? So they do this by carrying out the process of photosynthesis. synthesis is to produce, photo is with the help of light. So here what happened, they synthesize the carbohydrate जहाँ से इनको एनर्जी मिलेगी from simple inorganic raw materials. जैसे कि ये बचपन में पढ़ाया जाता है कि फोटोसिंथेसिस के प्रोसेस में क्या होता है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल लेट्स से inorganic raw materials like you have carbon dioxide, then you have water, and that happens in the presence of sunlight. So in that case they synthesize that carbohydrate in the presence of sunlight for themselves. Now they do this for themselves, so how do they give this or transfer this energy to the others? Because we know that the consumers will not be able to produce the food for themselves. We have done it in the previous video. So they then supply it indirectly. And how will it happen? Let's say by eating, etc. So when we eat the plants or the animals eat the plants, we get that energy because we do not consume the solar energy directly. We have seen in the abiotic factors also. So supply this indirectly to other non-producers. अब एग्जाम्पल में इफ़ यू सी, सो अगर आप टेरेस्ट्रियल इकोसिस्टम की बात करते हो, so here the producers will be your plants, you know, like herbs, woody plants, etc. And aquatic में अगर आप बात करते हो, so here for example microscopic algae, जिनको हम प्लैंक्टन्स भी बोलते हैं क्योंकि वो पानी में रहते हैं, ठीक है, एक्वेटिक इकोसिस्टम में. सो दीज आर द प्राइमरी प्रोड्यूसर्स. दिस इज द फर्स्ट component of your biotic system in the ecosystem. Next we talk about the second major one, which is your consumers. अब consumers के लिए हम अलग अलग terms भी use कर रहे हैं. For example heterotrophs. जैसे हमने producers के लिए क्या use किया था, autotrophs, because they were by self, you know, preparing their food for themselves. So here heterotrophs, which means they are not doing it by themselves, they are depending on the other organisms. They are also called as phagotrophs. So basically they are other nourishing. They are nourished by others and not by themselves. So they are incapable of producing own food by the process of photosynthesis and depend on organic food derived from plants, animals or both. So you don't have to be confused about that. We just did ki producers are the ones, like, you know, plants who are producing for themselves and animals are not producing for themselves. So how are we putting it here as an example? Because here we are talking about the consumers, not producers. So consumers can consume either the plants or animals or both. Now how will it happen? So we have different categories of the consumers basically. So if we broadly divide the consumers, we do it in two major categories. Firstly, the macro consumers. Secondly, the micro consumers. Macro consumers will feed on plants, animals or both. So you will have different examples. For example, the consumers who will feed only on the plants, ठीक है, उनको आप क्या बोलोगे? उनको आप बोलोगे herbivores. And they are also called as primary consumer. The first level of consumer that we do here, primary consumers, जो कि सिर्फ plants को खाएंगे. Example, for example, cow है, rabbit है, etc. Then you will have in the animals also different kinds. अब यहाँ पे on one, अब यहाँ primary थे तो यहाँ what will happen? Here it will be secondary consumers. Secondary consumers will feed on the primary consumers. दैट इज ऑल्सो वेरी क्लियर. तो प्राइमरी कंज्यूमर्स यानी कि वैसे लोग जो लोग कि आपके प्लांट्स को खाते हैं, ठीक है, हर्बीवोर्स, उनको कंज्यूम करेंगे. दे विल बी सेकेंडरी कंज्यूमर्स. फॉर एग्जाम्पल योर वुल्व्स. देन इन दैट ओनली अनदर कैटेगरी इज योर टर्शियरी कंज्यूमर्स, जो कि एनिमल्स खाते हैं. सो टर्शियरी कंज्यूमर्स दे विल फीड ऑन सेकेंडरी कंज्यूमर्स. एक चेन चलती चली रहेगी. They will feed on the secondary consumers. Example, lions. Let's say lions, if they are eating the wolves. तो एक चेन चलता चला गया, ठीक है. Then on the other hand, we also have those animals which will eat both plants or animals. So they are known as omnivores, जो कि दोनों खाएंगे. So we have your herbivores, and these are the secondary and the tertiary consumers are also called as carnivores. And then here we have the omnivores which will eat both plants and animals. So omnivores, both plants and animals. For example, man, monkey, etc. ठीक है. So this all was being considered under the macro consumers, which will feed either on plants or on animals or on both. Within the plants, then you have the herbivores or the primary consumers. Animals में you have the carnivores, so secondary consumers or tertiary consumers. And then omnivores में we will have both the plants and animals being eaten. Let's see what will come under the micro consumers. ठीक है. This is the last subsection here. So micro consumers, they are given different names. For example, saprotrophs or decomposers or osmotrophs. So these names you can remember because you never know what name you will find in the paper, so that you do not get confused despite of being the topic done. So here they will include, let's say, bacteria and fungi. So these micro consumers are organisms like bacteria and fungi, and they obtain energy and nutrients by decomposing the dead organic substances. जिनके लिए टर्म यूज़ होता है, यू शुड बी वेरी क्लियर अबाउट दीज टर्मिनोलॉजीज इन द एग्जामिनेशन. यू नेवर नो, मे बी दे जस्ट आस्क यू द क्वेश्चन ऑन द टर्मिनोलॉजीज एंड द मीनिंग्स. सो इन दैट केस यू विल डायरेक्टली फेच 2 marks if you know the basic terminologies, definitions, etc. So the dead organic substances, ठीक है, इनको बोलते हैं detritus. तो जब ये डिकम्पोज हो जाते हैं, इनको डिकम्पोज करके जो एनर्जी ऑब्टेन होती है वो कंज्यूम किया जाता है बाय बैक्टीरिया एंड फंजाई. Therefore they are called as decomposers also. So dead organic substances of plants and animal origin. Then within this also you should remember this term like detrivores. They are also micro consumers. Detrivores क्या होते हैं? They are organisms like earthworm, and other soil organisms earthworms and other soil organisms like, you can remember these name examples, nematodes and arthropods. They are the detritus feeder. अब ये जो डेड ऑर्गेनिक सब्सटेंसेस बचे, ठीक है, इनको भी जो खाने वाले ऑर्गेनिजम्स हैं, सो दे आर लाइक अर्थवर्म और सम अदर सॉइल ऑर्गेनिजम्स, एंड दे हेल्प इन डिकम्पोजिशन. इसको बिल्कुल छोटे छोटे पार्टिकल्स में तोड़ देना of the organic matter. So they are the examples of micro consumers. So we have done macro consumers here, herbivores, carnivores, omnivores, etc. And then you have the micro consumers. And in the beginning we talked about your प्राइमरी प्रोड्यूसर्स, ऑटोट्रॉफ्स, ठीक है, यानी प्लांट्स या फिर साइनोबैक्टीरिया की हम बात कर सकते हैं. So here we end the discussion on the biotic components of an ecosystem. In the next class, I'll talk on the other topic. We will continue from here on. I hope the sessions are helpful to you. If they are, please do like, comment, share and subscribe. Do not forget to check the geography videos also. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.